There's no explanation. We don't really say there are spirits in places. We more say we have this evidence and there's no explanation for it.
Welcome back to the History of Haunted, the podcast that explores the fascinating stories behind some of the most historic and often haunted places in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. I'm Brenna.
And I'm Maddie. And today, we're diving into the eerie history of the Clayton House in Fort Smith, Arkansas, a stunning Victorian home with a rich past and a few ghostly residents.
The Clayton House was initially built in 1882 and stands as a beautiful example of Victorian architecture. Josh Marshall, a ghost hunter from NWA Night Watchers, described the house in awe.
It's a really cool, historical, Victorian home. Got a huge staircase that wraps around going up to the second floor, which has a loft. It's beautiful. The staircase is just massive.
This grand staircase is a central feature that makes the home unique, but this house has a lot more to offer than just its aesthetics. It's filled with history and spirits, if the stories are to be believed.
The Clayton House wasn't just home to the Clayton family. It played many roles in its long history. It even served as a hospital during the Civil War. One notable addition to the house was a hospital wing.
They added a wing back when it was a hospital just to have more people in it. This was before the Claytons actually moved in, was when it was a hospital. It was a Civil War hospital before they moved into it. Basically, when Mr. Clayton moved in, he renovated the entire house and made it bigger and better for his family.
In a sense, the house has seen both the living and the dying pass through its doors, perhaps explaining some of its supernatural energy.
Mr. William Henry Harrison Clayton, for whom the house is named, was a prominent figure in the area. He was a well-known lawyer and had close ties to Judge Isaac Parker, famously known as the Hanging Judge.
Mr. Clayton was a big friend of Judge Parker, the hanging judge of Fort Smith. One of Judge Parker's sons actually married Mr. Clayton's daughter.
This connection to one of the most notorious judges in American history only adds to the intrigue of the Clayton House.
But the Clayton House isn't just known for its historical significance. It's also said to be one of the most haunted locations in Fort Smith, with one ghost being the most prominent.
Definitely Mr. Clayton. The people that run the museum now told us that they hear footsteps a lot. They'll see him out of the corner of their eye. That he just kind of roams the house just to make sure everything's all good.
It's believed that Mr. Clayton continues to watch over his beloved home, ensuring everything is just how it should be.
Other members of the Clayton family have also been spotted, particularly Mrs. Clayton.
People have typically reported seeing Mrs. Clayton up in the loft area. That's where they saw a lot of Mrs. Clayton kind of walking around and checking things out.
These sightings leave many visitors intrigued and uneasy.
One of the most chilling paranormal experiences involves candles. Josh described one investigation where they used an electromagnetic candle that responds to the presence of spirits.
We had a lot of paranormal candle activity where it's an electromagnetic candle that lights up or dims depending on if it detects electromagnetic frequencies. So we were asking questions and it was going off and on.
That's enough to send shivers down anyone's spine.
For those skeptical, the investigators who visit the Clayton House take a very scientific approach. They try to rule out any logical explanations before jumping to conclusions about the ghostly encounters.
As paranormal investigators, we are the first to be skeptics because we want to make sure that the evidence we're getting is unexplained. We turn air conditioning off and make sure there's no air going through the house. So the fact that a door was creaking shut, really it shouldn't have been happening.
By eliminating everyday causes, they ensure that any unexplained activity truly stands out.
What kinds of spirits linger at the Clayton House? Are they friendly, or do they have a darker presence? Fortunately, the spirits seem to be peaceful.
All the spirits have been very welcoming, or they've been very apathetic, where it's okay, you're in my space, but whatever, I'm just gonna keep doing my own stuff.
It's comforting to know that if you visit the Clayton House, you're more likely to encounter a friendly ghost than a hostile one.
One of the most memorable experiences from a recent investigation occurred in the main hallway. The investigators had set up motion-sensitive cat balls along with candles, and they were stunned by what happened next.
We were just asking questions like, can you turn on this candle and then go over to the other side and turn off the other candle? And sure enough, one candle would turn on, and then a couple seconds later, the other one would turn off, which is really cool.
These experiences make the Clayton House such a captivating and eerie place.
And the investigators don't stop there. They use various tools to charge up the atmosphere and make it easier for the spirits to interact.
We used 2 Tesla coils and an ion generator, so everything just felt a bit heavier, and specifically the hot spots really felt like you could feel something there.
It's techniques like these that bring the paranormal to life if you're brave enough to experience it. We also spoke to Emily Treadway, a Fort Smith native with a story of her own.
One of the stories that sticks out to me was there was a ghost cat in one of the upstairs rooms. And sure enough, we went up there and we're kind of looking around, and you could see the little curtain moving, you know, kind of like a cat was there, or maybe it was the wind, but none of the windows were open. There's no vents or anything around there. It's just, you know, a curtain. There's nothing else around it. And it just kept moving, kind of like there was like a little cat trying to walk behind it.
So, if you're ever in Fort Smith and want to explore a place rich with history and the supernatural, the Clayton House is a must-see. Whether you're a history buff or a ghost hunter, you'll find something to intrigue you within its walls. That's it for today's episode of History of Haunted. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past.
Be sure to tune into our next episode about Eureka Springs, Arkansas, a small town with a unique history and 2 haunted hotels, one which was built by the brother of Mr. Clayton. Until next time, I'm Brenna.
And I'm Maddie. And remember, sometimes history lingers in ways we can't quite explain.